Priyachati Abhayam Sva Pumsam Vishvasya Janma Stiti Samyamarte Krita Vatarasya Padambujam Te Brajema Sarve Saranam Yad Isha Smritam Prayachati Abhayam Svapumsam Visvasya Janma Stiti Samyamarte Kritavatarasya Padambujam Te Brajema Sarve Saranam Yadisha Smritam Prayachati Abhayam Svapumsam Visvasya Janma Stiti Samyamarte Kritavatarasya Padambujam Te Brajema Sarve Saranam Yadisha Smritam Prayachati Abhayam Svapumsam. It's too cold. It should be taken out before. Visvasya of the cosmic universe. Janma, creation. Stiti, maintenance. Samyama arte, for the dissolution also. Krita, accepted or assumed. Avatarasya, of the incarnations. Pada ambujam, lotus feet. Te, your. Brajema, let us take shelter of. Sarve, all of us. Saranam, shelter. Yat, that which. Isha, O Lord. Smritam, remembrance. Prayachati, awarding. Abhayam, courage. Svapumsam, of the devotees. O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. And therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. For the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, there are three incarnations: Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshvar, Lord Shiva. They are the controllers or masters of the three modes of material nature which cause the phenomenal manifestation. Vishnu is the master of the mode of goodness. Brahma is the master of the mode of passion. And Maheshvar is the master of the mode of ignorance. There are different kinds of devotees according to the modes of nature. Persons in the mode of goodness worship Lord Vishnu. Those in the mode of passion worship Lord Brahma, and those in the mode of ignorance worship Lord Shiva. All three of these deities are incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Krishna, because he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demigods directly refer to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and not to the different incarnations. The incarnation of Vishnu in the material world is, however, directly worshipped by the demigods. It is learned from various scriptures that the demigods approach Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk and submit their grievances whenever there is some difficulty in the administration of universal affairs. Although they are incarnations of the Lord, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva worship Lord Vishnu, and thus they are also counted amongst the demigods and not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who worship Lord Vishnu are called demigods, and persons who do not do so are called asuras, or demons. Vishnu always takes the part of the demigods, but Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the side of the demons. Up until just now, the thing was like more subdued, and now it's back with this bing bong thing. It can be adjusted now. But Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the side of the demons. It is not that they become one in interest with them, but sometimes they do something in order to gain control over the demons. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Milidam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Nena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svabadantigam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru and Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Saguratam Sagana Ragadatam Vidam Dam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakavidamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Devyad Brindaranya Kalpa Drumada Śrīmad Ratnagara Singhasana Sto Śrīmad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestali Bi Savyamano Smarami. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vishvasya Janmastiti Samya Marte Kritavatarasya Padambujam Te Pajema Sarve Saranam Yadisha Smitam Prayachati Abhayam Sakum Sam. O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, and therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. So this is the beginning. Vidura's talks with Maitreya. Actually, Maitreya's instruction to Vidura on transcendental subject matters, knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a lengthy and detailed description of the creation of the phenomenal world, as described here, the cosmic universe, has been given up until, say, through the 37th verse of this chapter. In the 38th verse begins, the controlling deities of all the above-mentioned physical elements. It's described there are 33 million demigods, even for blinking of the eye, or any type of sensual ability we have, and in all the different species of life, what to speak of just human beings, are under the control of a specific demigod. So the controlling deities of all the above-mentioned physical elements are empowered expansions of Lord Vishnu. They are embodied by eternal time under the external energy, and they are his parts and parcels. Because they were entrusted with different functions of universal duties and were unable to perform them, they offered fascinating prayers to the Lord as follows. So even at the dawn of creation, the supreme demigod, or topmost of all the demigods, Lord Brahma, he was instructed and he had to perform tapasya. Tapasya means taking some difficulty, some inconvenience, some bodily denial for the sake of higher progressive spiritual advancement and realization. Such tapasya is the wealth of those in the renounced order of life. And the result of such tapasya is meant for ultimate good, not only for oneself, but for all others. We're coming, actually, this is chapter 5 to chapter 9, very important chapter in the third canto and entire Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Lord Brahma's prayers for creative energy. It's compiled in 1977. The preaching is the essence. Rameshwar Prabhu and another Prabhupada disciple at the time, Shubhananda, they gleaned, and this wasn't done, they didn't have, computer search engines and all of these things to just, find it all over the place. They had to, by their own realization, by their own remembrance, and reading of Prabhupada's book, select. So many verses, purports from that 9th chapter are included, you'll see, in Preaching is the Essence, under various categories. The preacher's mood of compassion, wanting to benedict the living entities, like that. So we see here, in the same way, not not only Lord Brahma, as we were saying in this 9th chapter, the 3rd canto, how the living entities are so much bewildered and perplexed by the conditions of the material world, adhyatmik, adhibodhika, adhidaivika, miseries from their own body and mind, miseries from other living entities, miseries from natural disturbances. How can they actually come and take shelter at your lotus feet? Lord Brahma is emphatically praying and desiring. And so profound and sincere were Lord Brahma's prayers that Lord Krishna instructed him in the Chatur Shloki. One must search for the ultimate truth. Up to this, up to realization of myself, the perfection of all realization is to perceive me by realization. In all times, in all places, and all circumstances. So here, the controlling deities in the same way, they are, how will we perform our duties? And they very know well what is the reason that they should perform their duties. So we'll see beginning tomorrow in verse 44, O Lord, persons who are entangled by undesirable eagerness for the temporary body of kinsmen and were bound by thoughts of mine and I are unable to see your lotus feet, although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies, but let's take shelter of your lotus feet. They are concerned that the fallen conditioned souls get the opportunity for devotional service, which they understand is the real goal of life and the real happiness of life. Kindly award us your perfect knowledge and potency so that we can render you service in the different departments of subsequent creation. And that verse ends this chapter, which makes the prelude to chapter 6, creation of the universal form. So we see here in today's verse 43, O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, and therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. Remembrance of the Lord's lotus feet is simultaneous to having courage or fearlessness. And Prabhupada would remark in many different times and circumstances that simply you have to remember Krishna, and then Krishna from his side, based on your remembrance of him, will always make everything happen for you. And similarly, the devotees who came to Srila Prabhupada, especially in the beginning, and throughout, and even now, only knowing Prabhupada and only wanting to please him, the magic, Krishna magic would take place and miraculous things would happen. As early as 1966, the very first devotees, they were wanting to help Srila Prabhupada in writing and transcribing, particularly transcribing all of his books, which he was dictating into a dictaphone, and nobody knew how to type. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, some young man named Neil shows up. This is like August, September, in the middle of the summer, end of the summer, beginning of a new school year. They're very obscure, practically unknown, certainly not mainstream known, even amongst the counterculture. It was begun like a few days or a few weeks ago, and this young man shows up and says that, I've been given. He's going to Antioch College. Where is Antioch College? It's like Antioch, Tennessee. It's like not in New York. And he said that I've been given a project that I have to join a religion for a semester and completely take part. And I figured I'd join you guys. So how did he know about that? And they say, oh, Kimsa Brahmananda is the temple president. Okay. Do you know how to type? Yeah, I can type. I can type, like, 70 words a minute, like the topmost, best typist. And he just sits there and he's typing and typing and typing. And the devotees are going like, wow. How did this happen? And then after the semester was over, by then, more devotees had come and been able to learn how to type and pick up the service, but he just had no interest in becoming a devotee. He just vanished and was never ever seen again. But he just did like impeccable service for that amount of time. So Bhagavad-Gita 9:22, to those who meditate on my transcendental form, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Prabhupada was taken by Mukunda, now Maharaj, to an immigration office in San Francisco in 1967. Prabhupada had just come here with a 2-month visitor's visa in September 1966 and was extending it again and again and again. And finally, after September 1965, after a year and a half, having problems. So ISKCON had already been incorporated as a non-profit, tax-exempt religious organization recognized by the government. So Prabhupada was... Anyway, in the course of talking with the immigration officer was asking, what is your movement all about? What are its aims? What are its disciplines? And what is its goals? And after Prabhupada saying all of these things, the immigration officer was like, wow, that must be extremely difficult to maintain such a lifestyle and to be able to expect people to convert, your teachings. And Prabhupada said, no, it's very, very easy. All I have to do is remember Krishna, and Krishna does everything else. So let us take shelter of your lotus feet, because they always award remembrance, and by that remembrance, fearlessness and courage to your devotees. So specifically, for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution, the cosmic manifestation, there are 3 incarnations: Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshvar. So Vishnu is directly the expansion of Krishna. There's never a time when the qualitative in charge of the mode of goodness, Vishnu, is ever given to a living entity, such as Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, in charge of the mode of passion, is Jiva Tattva. It's the topmost empowered living entity. If you want to rise up the ranks in the prison house in the material world, the topmost position that you can covet is the position of Lord Brahma. Whereas Lord Shiva, Maheshvar, as described in the Brahma Samhita, he is a transformation of Vishnu, and the example is given of milk transformed into yogurt. Yogurt is not milk, and milk is not yogurt, but yogurt is derived from milk. They are the controllers or masters of the 3 modes of material nature which cause the phenomenal manifestation. Now, they are in charge of the qualitative modes that govern this material phenomenal manifestation. there are different kinds of devotees according to the modes of nature. The bewildered spirit soul thinks himself the doer of activities which are actuality carried out by material nature. So you see that someone in the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance says, I'm a devotee of Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma. No, I'm a devotee of my own self, you know. They don't think, but actually they are. And we see even more and more that people take to some type of worship of lower living beings. Actually, how demoniac and crazy it might seem, but people are attracted to worship Satan, their own imagined rituals. What is described that they concoct their own hymns and slogans and chant accordingly in the Bhagavad-Gita, their own ideas. Persons in the mode of goodness worship Lord Vishnu, those in the mode of passion worship Lord Brahma, and those in the mode of ignorance worship Lord Shiva. All three of these deities are incarnations of the Supreme Lord Krishna because he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita, all worship is meant for me alone, but due to their material conditioning, material desires, they worship some temporary demigod. But alpa medasa, the fruits of such worship are limited and temporary. Real life means to accept that I am the eternal servant of Krishna, and without any false prestige or false ego, not expecting any type of honor in this material world, serve Krishna as he desires in all times, places, and circumstances. So one who is not clarified or purified their consciousness so that the only thing that remains in one's heart is this pure desire, they will perform their activities in such a way to achieve what they imagine a higher position in this material world. That's one definition Srila Prabhupada gives. A simple definition of pure devotee is that he performs his activities without any desire for higher elevation to a higher status in this material world. There's the example given of Kolavechar Sridhar. Prabhupada writes in the 5th canto, quoting from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, that just see his greatness and mention Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the highest personalities in the material world, shed tears upon seeing his greatness. And who was Kolavechar Sridhar? It was an incarnation of one of the most dear Priyanam Sakas of Krishna. And what was his lifestyle or perceivable living situation in the Chaitanya Leela? He was very, very poor banana leaf seller. And he was so poor that he couldn't even fix the roof of his thatched hut. And rain would come in, and he had an iron pot. And Lord Chaitanya would come there regularly and joke with him and drink from this iron pot. Later in this canto, towards the end, is Kapila Deva's instruction to his mother Devahuti, and in the chapter 25, the Glories of Devotional Service, there's a delineation or breakdown of devotional service in the different modes of material nature. And Kapila Deva is speaking and instructing in such a way that we should be on guard against falling into performing devotional service, influenced especially by the mode of ignorance and also by the mode of passion. The demigods directly refer to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and not to the different incarnations. Narottam Das Thakur in his Prema Bhakti Chandrika, he enunciates again and again his desire for exclusive Kevala Bhakti. He said, I will not worship the demigods and goddesses. Devotional service is the meaning for my life. The incarnations of Vishnu in the material world, incarnation of Vishnu in the material world, is, however, directly worshipped by the demigods. It is learned from various scriptures that the demigods approach Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk and submit their grievances whenever there is some difficulty in the administration of universal affairs. Perhaps the best known one is Advent of Lord Krishna, chapter 1 of the 10th canto, where the demigods, Mother Bhumi, goddess Bhumi in the shape of a cow, seeing the Dharmasya Glani, the increase of the demons, were posing of the royal order, with unnecessary defense force, destroying and inhibiting the ability of the pious, those who follow Dharma, for performing their religious rituals, by having a God-conscious world. They approach Lord Vishnu and beg for relief. That's the grievance to place before the Lord. And we should understand that the Lord knows very well what is going on and will act at the right time to paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya traduskritam, to put down the miscreant. It's described here. Krishna always favors the demigods. Krishna never favors the demons. We see in the fight with Banasura that Lord Shiva, who Banasura was worshiping, took up the fight with Lord Vishnu, and an incredible fight it was, the Shiva Dwar and the Narayan Dwar. Ultimately the Narayan Dwar won, obviously, and Lord Shiva and Banasura ultimately had to surrender to Lord Krishna. When Hiranyakashipu terrorized the universe, big time, the Lord assured them, and not directly. The voice of the Lord vibrated from outside. They could not see, but the Lord spoke to them. I know all about the activities of her. First, he instructed them, become my devotees, so to speak, like knowing that you want to get rid of this Hiranyakashipu because you want to keep on enjoying being the big demigods in the material world. That's why none of them could satisfy the Lord when he appeared as Nrsimhadev, roaring with anger. Adbhuta Shringam, nobody had ever seen such an unprecedented, fearsome form of the Lord. Even Lord Brahma could not pacify. Of course, the Lord Brahma was kind of the guilty one when all was said and done. Oh, Lord Brahma, oh great small letter L, Lord, born from the lotus flower. It is not good to give benedictions to demons. It simply indulges them. I warn you not to give such benedictions again. So only Prahlad Maharaj the Mahabhagavat, pure devotee, seemingly a 5-year-old boy, only he could pacify the Lord. And Lord Nrsimhadev went from Ugra, very angry Nrsimha, to very, very peaceful Nrsimha. Very, very peaceful. Pacified Lord. So, become my devotees by hearing and chanting. Such activities award benediction and auspiciousness to all living entities. Then, after telling them what they should really be focusing and concentrating on, he said, I know all about the activities of Hiranyakashipu. And he made the prediction. And when he finally chastises his devotee son Prahlad, I will come and take care of him immediately, despite the benedictions of Lord Brahma. Although they, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, are incarnations of the Lord, Brahma and Shiva worship Lord Vishnu. That means they are dependent on Lord Vishnu, ultimately. And so they are also counted among the demigods and not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is Hiranyakashipu's warped determination that Lord Vishnu is the killer of his brother Hiranyaksha, his arch enemy. The demons, they use their intelligence to be extremely alert, to destroy God, to destroy the Lord, their devotees, and any type of lifestyle or culture based on Krishna consciousness. Very, very alert. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes an amazing essay called Putana. And Putana, as the first assistant aide de camp, the first demon hired by Kamsa, the avowed atheist and hater of the Supreme Lord, to kill Krishna when he's only an infant. So the demons, they're very, very alert to try to kill the infant, or just as it gives birth, as God consciousness. So now they have all of this nonsense thing that they teach the children right from their birth, right from the get-go, Darwinian theory, so many other things, completely against God consciousness. But Krishna, even in the form of an infant, can suck out the life of this most trusted servant of Kamsa, Putana. So that, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in that essay went on to say that Krishna, he awards that same protection and power to overcome such heinous and immense evil to even his newest devotee, who is just, his bhakti is just beginning, just like the infant is just now a brand new body, completely helpless. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta encourages the devotees that don't worry, that Krishna will protect you. Persons who worship Lord Vishnu are called demigods, and persons who do not do so are called asuras or demons. Vishnu always takes the part of the demigods, but Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the side of the demons. So we see that sometimes practicing and aspiring devotees, they go astray, and their intelligence is bewildered for some time. This is due to material desires. This is even described of Maharaj Bharat, how he became bewildered by temporary attachment to a deer, and there in the Bhagavatam, how could this happen? And it's described because of previous karma, not completely eradicated. So we should take very seriously Krishna's promise to us, just surrender unto me, and I will relieve you from all the reactions of your sinful life. The reactions of our sinful life can pop up in the form of unfulfilled material desires. Lord Chaitanya puts one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's last instructions, Lord Chaitanya puts his devotees in different circumstances and associations to test them. Their success depends on their good fortune. Hare Krishna. Vishvasya janmastiti samyamarte Kritavatarasya padambujamte Prajema sarve saranam yadisha Smritam prayachiti abhayam svapumsa. O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, and therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. So we should use the time in our life, especially from the time of coming to Krishna consciousness and receiving the great privilege of initiation into this glorious Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, to be very steady and consistent throughout our life, as many years, decades that we have. And this will convince Krishna that we are serious. Try to become very steady devotees, not in and out, up and down. And the more that we do that, the more strength, the more faith and ability that we'll have to rise above and sail above always, become expert surfers of the modes of material nature in this material world. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhu. One thing was interesting for me in the verse itself is that at the end it is said swapumsa.
A little bit louder, I can't hear.
Yeah, at the end of the verse it is said swapumsam. Basically, devotees there are addressed like the people of Krishna, your people. Swapumsam. The devotees actually means swapumsam, your people. These are your people, the devotees.
Are you referring svapumsam?
Yes.
Of the devotees. So?
Well, it's interesting that swapumsam means your people, that devotees there. Krishna is equally disposed to all living entities, but actually devotees are his own people.
What is that in Samoham Sarvabhuteshu? That is Krishna partial to devotees? No, and the example is it's natural. Devotees are in me and I am in them. Krishna gave good instruction to Durvasa Muni, Lord Narayan, that by acting against Maharaj Ambarish, you've acted with self-envy. The devotees are in my heart, and I am in the heart of my devotees. The devotees know nothing but me, and I know nothing but them.
Yes, and I also wanted to ask, demigods, from our perspective, looks like that the demigods are much more advanced devotees than us. But at the same time, we see that generally they approach Krishna with material desires, like because they are suffering or they want something. So sometimes I'm wondering, because we are always saying, like you mentioned in the lecture, our goal is pure bhakti. We don't want anything in return for our service.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm wondering, basically that means that we have to become greater devotees than the demigods.
Well, material world is relative, like even you see it everywhere. New York City, somebody who lives like on the Upper East Side, they're going to think they're much better than somebody who lives here in Borum Hill, or Gowanus, they just think they're better. And even, I mean, Prabhupada would say, you want to come at least, well, not now, but 40, 50 years ago, you want to come to America, why are you coming here? Woof! You bark, you have to get visa. Certain countries, very easy. Come from Europe, okay. You want to come from like Africa, Botswana? No, we don't. You're not allowed to come here. So, relatively speaking. So therefore, the middle planetary system, where the enjoyment is not so great, the suffering's not so great, Bhogaishvarya Prashaktanam, in the minds of those who are bewildered by material sense gratification, one can enjoy in the Nanda Kanana gardens and, live for, hundreds of thousands of years, no old age, and just like, when it's time to leave your body, you're still young, but just like that, It's very bewildering. And we see, people who, Upper East Side or whatever, they've become unfit. Janmais, what is Queen Kunti? Janmas Shuti Shibir, Edamana. That one is bewildered by bodily beauty, wealth, aristocracy, so-called intelligence. They cannot surrender to you with sincere feeling. Where at the same time it's said that if one has these opulences but does not become proud, then one has actually received the benediction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So wherever we're at, whatever we have, whatever our situation is, we utilize everything. And to the degree that we are insincere in our devotional service, to that degree we overcome and surpass our birth and our conditioning from the past. But the main thing we'll conclude is Janadapi Sunichina, Taroi Vaseshnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Siddhahari. One can always remain in Krishna consciousness by maintaining humility, not becoming proud. Notice in the first canto, Arjuna comes back from Dwarka and reports to Yudhishthira the disappearance of Lord Krishna. I have the same Gandiva bow and everything, but without Krishna, it's all. So one should not be puffed up by borrowed plumes. Everything that we have has been granted by Krishna and is meant to be awarded and used in his service. Hare Krishna. Jai Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Jai Shri Radha Govinda ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol.